I'm going to talk about consciousness today. And this is the profound mystery of our existence. We talk about it all the time. We know about it through our experiences. But actually, nobody agrees about consciousness. And you probably know that it's entirely individual, that we have looked and we have no agreement whatsoever in science, in philosophy, in mysticism, of what it is and how we get there. So here we are in this quandary with no criteria for judging consciousness. And science is trying to do it now by doing brain waves and by doing patterns in brain waves. And they're getting a little ways, but not very far. And the reason they aren't getting very far is because this is so linear way of looking at things when consciousness is so nonlinear. But each one of us has this consciousness. And it's an awareness that makes us pay attention to things. And where'd we get it? How did we come to it? Well, we came to it in what we call certain kinds of altered states. And most of us have had altered states when we daydream. And we go into a place where it's different than where we've been. But actually, we've studied these altered states in like multiple personalities. And a multiple personality goes from one extreme state to another extreme state and can't seem to change the difference. And so we've said there are two kinds of consciousness. And then we've done it in when we say we're unconscious. People who are in comas are unconscious, supposedly. Did you realize that there's no such thing as unconsciousness? We're always conscious.
Here in the Monroe Institute laboratory, we work with people in an isolation booth to teach them how to move into different states of consciousness, to increase intuition, creative thought, to explore the realms of their own hypnagogic imagery. We provide them with a combination of sound patterns to help shape their brain waves into conducive states of consciousness. Raw brainwave patterns look very similar to what you might see on a polygraph machine. In this case, we simply turn those pages into a map of the brain. We can do that simply by asking for a different type of computer display. Here we've taken that same information and turned it into a map. This oval pattern represents the top of the head of the individual. This oval pertains to alpha waves, this one to theta waves, and this one over here to delta. We can move forward second by second here in time and see the brainwave patterns change. Breaking up of the alpha, moving a little bit better in here. And there's a nice theta picture. The alpha, resting state alpha, is broken down altogether. When we have a nice clear and synchronous theta pattern, it's kind of an intuitive situation. You see this kind of happen, we would like to train the individual to recognize consciously when this happens by teaching people how to feel this intuitive sense. It can become part of one of the things that you know how to do. Now you can prolong that. It doesn't have to be just an intuitive flash, but you can learn to explore your intuitive knowledge simply by expanding that intuitive insight to take not just a couple of seconds, but a few minutes of your own in-depth exploration. It can be a very different kind of a world, not the same physical world we live in, but a mental world, a mental dimension in and of itself, filled with answers and understanding.
The Earth's resonant frequency starts at 7.83 Hertz and ends with the 7th harmonic at 43.2 Hertz, correlating with the 7 chakras. Ultimately, the greatest discovery of our Earth is its consciousness. A visible attribute of consciousness is an energetic field that governs the shaping of organisms. Morphogenesis is a scientific term to explain this very shaping of tissues, organs, and entire organisms. Consciousness is the creative force of the entire universe. It has been given many names such as God, Yahweh, Krishna, nature, the field, and divinity. The entire universe is in fact a single living, conscious organism with complete awareness of itself. The reason why it may seem difficult to comprehend this is because our understanding is typically limited by our language. When we hear the term conscious organism, we tend to anthropomorphize its definition. By giving it human qualities, we mistakenly look past what an organism truly is in the first place. The definition of an organism is any living thing capable of response to stimuli, reproduction, growth and development, and maintenance of homeostasis as a stable whole. Our universe does all of these things. The consciousness of our universe is responsible for the form and purpose that all matter assumes. The Earth's resonant frequencies are a result of its form. These frequencies are responsible for biological rhythms, such as menstrual and circadian cycles, as well as behavioral and emotional patterns. The frequencies are then picked up by the flora and fauna, which are biological instruments that respond to the wave patterns. The wave patterns resonate in the cranial structure of our head and converge in the center of our brain, which is where we find the pineal gland. The pineal gland is believed in many cultures to be the spiritual third eye responsible for intuition. Descartes called it the seat of the soul where mind and body meet. Each individual cell in our body receives an electromagnetic impulse from our central nervous system. They receive the very same impulse that was disseminated to every biological instrument from the earth. An explanation of our conscious universe has been attempted by religion, science, and philosophy. The neglect of biological nature from any organism causes illness. A divorce from nature, exile from Eden, they are all symptoms not of a biblical God or deity, but the true self. The greatest and only threat to ourselves is a loss of self, the death of our divinity.